Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hope for the Holidays, our latest conversation interview with none other than Gabbi Hartzell. I am so excited to welcome you to today's interview, Gabbi. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. And I'm thankful for you to even have me. I'm excited.
Thank you, because do everyone know you are pretty busy right now, not just in all things Gabbi, and we'll unpack that in just a moment. But what is a big priority happening in your life, literally at any moment now?
Yeah, we'll be welcoming our third baby girl at any moment. So
And,
if my water breaks during this, I'm really sorry.
and I won't know what to do except say, "Oh my goodness, let's pause recording and let's get you to the hospital." But
There's some hope for the holidays.
exactly. But what a sweet time. I love the idea of just having a tiny baby in the house around the holidays. So, congratulations to you and your husband and your
Thank
family
you.
for sure.
Thank you.
Before we go any further, I do want to introduce you formally to everyone. So, I'm going to read your bio and then we'll jump into our time together.
Okay.
So, y'all, Gabbi is, among all things, wife, mother, soon to be of three, but now of two spunky little girls. She's also the founder and director of The Well, a regional women's ministry based out of Southeastern Kentucky. And she also has a national campaign called the Prom Prep as well. She's also the co host of her own podcast called Moxie Mamas, and she's a content contributor and church ministry coach for how we became connected through God Girl Nation. And we'll talk a bit about that. And she's also a phenomenal speaker where she inspires others to do more, to dream more, and to just be more. It is her deepest desire to see a movement of women linked arm in arm. I love that visual, linked arm in arm, set free from insecurity and fear, and pursuing their God given purpose. That last line, Gabbi, gives me chills because I literally can, when I remember receiving your bio and reading that, but just a moment, it hit me the visual of seeing women linked arm in arm and walking together in a movement. I love the way you put that. So tell us a bit about what sparked all of this in you, like a bit about, was it a part of your life story? Is it kind of, yeah, part of the testimony and God has led me to this? Unpack that a bit for us.
Yeah, I would love to. I grew up in an all women household. So single mama raised me and my sister. And so I've just always been, I never realized it, never put the pieces together until looking back, but everything has always been focused around women. My whole life, my whole ministry, even my jobs growing up, most of my jobs were in boutiques or bridal boutiques and encouraging women. And so I never really put the pieces together, but it's something that is really, really on my heart, especially after, with my single mom, she had a whole other life plan. And then when my father, he passed away a couple of years ago, but he was an alcoholic and a drug addict, and that changed things. And so to see that, to witness strong women around me, even not just her, but just other strong women around me who often allowed insecurity or fear or things hold them back from doing what it is that, God has asked them to do, really bothered me. And I didn't want to see that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But also just with my mom, her plans totally changed, but her purpose still remained the same. And so that's something too that is so crucial. Plus I have switched jobs and careers so many times throughout life. And I just want people to know, and I want to help them along in finding their purpose, because it is such a struggle, because it does change with every season, not necessarily our overall purpose, but how we live that out. So like I said with my mom, our plans change, but our purpose remains the same. And so I just, it's been kind of woven into my life of just like, I guess just recognizing that and then wanting to help others through that. Because I've been there, I've seen it in others, I've seen it in myself. I know how hard it is, but we all have the same overarching purpose. And so purpose has been something that is just really ingrained in me. Just anyway, so yeah, I feel like that's kind of, that's really what's gotten me to where I'm at. And then living in a more rural area, you know, women typically don't get opportunities as in other places. And so that is one reason that really spurs me to keep pushing is to see women really capture their potential and run after their purpose. So that's a little bit about why I do what I do and why I love that.
I wrote down so many gems from that, Gabbi. I also wanted to highlight what you said, recognizing your background, your family unit, and the dynamic of how that was created, the life thing that happened with your father passing, but also those challenges and barriers. I too, my father struggled with alcoholism, and just knowing the dynamics in which that bring into a family, but recognizing at every corner, wait, I'm working in boutiques. Wait, I'm doing this alongside my sisters and my family, my mom. Wait, I'm recognizing I am surrounded by women. So me recognizing this is unpacking what I've been looking for in my purpose and in my potential. Can you share some things? And I don't want to call it strategies because I feel like it is so different for everyone in their life journey. But you talked about the recognition piece. From recognizing, how did you move that into action? Because y'all, you heard Gabbi's like abridged bio. She was so kind to just give me a few sentences. But this woman does a lot. And it is all for her mission of equipping women and linking arm and finding their journey and doing it well. But take us from recognizing to actually walking in it, because I think that's what tripped not just women, but so many people up.
Yes, it is. Getting started is the hardest part. And I literally was just thinking about that today of even starting a new year as we're getting ready to head into a new year, and getting started is the hardest part. And leadership, purpose, all those things are near and dear to my heart. But for me, you know, I have like a list of things that I go through each season when I feel like a season is different and the way I live out my purpose is getting ready to change. I go through these 3 steps. And I've got them listed as a worksheet too, like just to help people. It's not rocket science. It's the simplest thing. We just typically don't do the simple things. But you know, prayer, looking up, paying attention, like I said, recognizing those things, and then getting wise counsel from people who are objective and who see things in you that maybe you don't, and can help you, you know, get those things. That it helps you with recognition, and then it helps you with getting started too, those people around you. For me, what keeps me in the doing part, because I am a bit of a doer, if I feel like there's something God wants me to do, I'm like, I'm just going to do it. And then if you close the door, you close the door. But I don't want to miss it. And that's the thing I think that helps me get started, is that I'm more afraid of missing what He has for me than I am of whatever could happen if I do it. So I'm more afraid of missing out on His plan. And I don't think we're, you know, powerful enough to mess up His plan. But I do think that we often in the day-to-day life give up opportunities because of fear. And so I'm more afraid of missing those moments than I am of whatever could come from doing them. Typically, not always. It takes, I mean, you're going to feel the fear, but doing it anyway is the key. So I literally just have to, when it comes to doing, I think about that. And then just knowing that there's souls on the other side of that fear that He's wanting to use me to reach. And if you're constantly thinking about how your faith is connected to more than just you,
Yes.
then it spurs you. It just,
Mm-hmm.
you can't just keep those things to yourself and not act upon them.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been helpful for me, at least in the doing part.
Yes. No, that's so good, because I really think so many people put the obstacle in front of their opportunity because of what you said. Getting started is the hardest part. Maybe they've looked up and they've identified, you know, that teacher somewhere, that educator. I know I'm supposed to work with children, but not just in this setting of education. What does that look like for the kingdom?
Mm-hmm.
Or that business owner where they're thinking, hey, I lead a business, I'm crunching numbers, I'm doing all these things throughout my 9 to 5. But what does that look like for my true identity in Christ? So your outline, we have to, to pray, looking up, recognizing, and seeking wise counsel. Like you said, very simple, but we don't do it. We don't do it. We're not obedient. I love what you said. I'm more afraid of missing what he has for me. And we're not that powerful of interrupting God's plan. I think we are sometimes, like, oh, I make this decision, I'm throwing my whole life out the window.
Yeah.
That's not how he works. But when you said souls are on the other side of your fear, souls are on the other side of your fear. I think that needs to be on the Times Square billboard where everyone in the world can see it. And we'd see some real movement, some real momentum behind that. We don't just look at it as, oh, I need to do this for this reason, or it's the strategic move. There are souls at stake here.
Yeah.
So I want to dig through the levels of how you identified and recognized your purpose, started that action step of just getting started. But boy, you got started and you haven't stopped. You do so many things in ministry, at your church, outside of ministry at your church. Let's start with the well. And let's unpack how you combine that getting started with the well and what you all are continually doing now and what has led you to your next ventures.
Yes. So with the well, which is our women's ministry at our church that I founded, along with a great team of people. But I had prayer is really what started it. About 10 years ago, I was at a school of worship and I thought I was going to be a worship leader my whole life. That was my plan. My plans changed. His did not, mine did. And I distinctly remember in that time hearing, not necessarily audibly, though that would be cool, but I would pee my pants. But I just heard in my spirit of, Gabbi, I want you to speak to women. And I was like, no, no, you've got the wrong person. I sing, I don't speak. I am not the typical communicator. That was not some people find the how and their purpose by their typical giftings that they can see that are significant. Mine, that was not my gifting. It was not. He for sure equips me every time I get up to do anything. But anyways, it was not obvious to me. So he had planted that seed through a time of prayer. I knew he wanted me to speak to women, or I didn't want to do it, but I knew he wanted me to. And it took me years before I actually did anything with that. It took me about 5 years. I started selling Mary Kay in between there, and I thought, hey, maybe this is how I'm to speak to women. And so I went to another worship conference at Passion City, actually, there in Atlanta. And I went to a breakout that had nothing to do with worship, but I thought, I'll go. So Louie and Shelly Giglio were speaking at that one. And Shelly, it wasn't even about this, but she mentioned them having a women's ministry called The Grove. And it just triggered that nugget he had planted in me 5 years prior. And so I just immediately was like, I have to ask her about this. And so I just made a beeline for Shelly Giglio after the breakout and was like, tell me about your women's ministry. And women's ministry was not something I wanted to do. I think of it more as women's misery. And I did not care for it. But I just remembered what he had said. And I just kind of followed the nugget. Follow the nugget basically was how I got that started. So from there, the well was born. We kind of modeled it after the Grove there at Passion City, and then we made it our own over time based on our area and where we're at. And so that's basically how we got it started. Was I knew God wanted me to speak to women. I didn't know what that looked like. When I went to that conference, that nugget came back when she mentioned that, and then I thought, that's what I need to do. Because I was recently a newlywed, I was looking for a mentor in my life, and I realized I didn't know where to find one.
That's right.
So with all of those pieces together, it just seemed to make sense that we start a women's ministry for our area, so that we can find those mentors. And so that's basically how it was born. It was born in 2015. We had our first event in 2016, but so that was the well. We have transformed a bit over the years. Now we do a bunch of different things. I have to write them down because I forget what we do sometimes. But we have events. So we'll do like three big events a year. They're a lot of fun. We did do small groups. We're pivoting away from that. And especially with the year that we've had, we started doing YouVersion studies together. And so we do like a monthly YouVersion study together, just a 5 to 7 day study. We've gotten some great participation from that because it's easy to jump in. And then we have blogs. We have women from the community who write blogs for us. We've got the Well Journal, which is a magazine we created. And then we also, Prom Prep, the campaign you mentioned earlier, actually was birthed out of the Well. And that's our community outreach that we do every year, except for 2020. So yeah, it's just been blossoming ever since. So
isn't it amazing how obedience unlocks so many opportunities, not for you as the vehicle or the vessel, but for the others there in Southeastern Kentucky. And I think we don't need to overlook the part of it being a rural area, because I come from a rural area here in Georgia. I am a firm believer that opportunities lead to exposure, and exposure can send you on your journey that you had no idea even existed. I am proof of that. But when you lead people, and I love the illustration of the fact that you all call it the well, when you lead people there, you're bringing forth that resource for them. And it's not this typical model where, okay, we're just going to get together and do life groups. You all have resources and literally steps to take someone from the question of, I should have a mentor, who could that be, to aligning women with other women that have either been there, done that, in either that path personally or professionally, but that spiritual walk as well. So kudos everything you all and your team are doing. And it seems like it was just divinely orchestrated, because here you are from 2015 to 2020, having in just 5 years grown it from, okay, this is an idea in my head. Is it really, God, is that you? Like, I heard you. Okay. Following in that obedience, to now having enriched so many lives, but you're not stopping there. And I love the fact that you said, I had to write it down because we do so much. Come on, kingdom work. Tell us what has now transcended from the well to what you personally are taking on with full baby about to give birth, but what you're personally launching coming up.
Yeah. So I say we, right now it's just me. I like to think later there's a team.
God and the Holy Spirit.
There's a team out there. Yes. So what happened before the well even started was that a friend of mine and we wanted to start a nonprofit for girls, for middle school girls. Yes. I had been a counselor for a while in the schools. I counseled middle school girls and boys, but again, my heart's always been geared towards women. And so I just noticed this need for confidence boosting and showing them worth and value, and that they have that. And of course, we don't have anything apart from Jesus, but But, one of the things that I firmly believe is that if you want to grow confidence, grow your skill set. And so that was something that we were going to do. And I thought, okay, maybe this is how I speak to women. And then we were halfway through the paperwork and we just kind of shut down because we got married and life happened. And so then that conference came with Shelly and I was like, women's ministry, I'll do that. And so it has really equipped me personally in leading this with, connections in the community and how to lead something and being able to lead underneath the umbrella of the church has really enabled me and equipped me for what is getting ready to happen, which is a nonprofit for women in our community. So instead of just middle school girls, I'll be focusing on 16 and up. And it's called the Flourish Factory. And so I'm just now starting that nonprofit. So I'll be kicking that off in January with a newborn, but that's okay.
He has equipped you, girl. He has equipped you. You're not slowing down anytime soon. Come on, baby. Let's go.
I told him the other day, I was like, people are going to think I'm crazy. I think I'm crazy. But I'm going to continue to walk through the doors until you close one. And so every time I try to get out of doing it, and I thought, oh, here's a closed door, here's an obstacle, he just opened it wide open. And I'm like, oh, now I have to walk through it.
That's right.
So
that's right.
I told him, I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't know if I'm going to have to have him in order to do this, which is right where he wants us. But I will continue to walk through the doors until he closes one. So this nonprofit that we're getting ready to start is, again, it's called the Flourish Factory. And our first one will be in London, Kentucky, where I'm from. And that will be the first of many is my vision. But it's just a place for women to come and be equipped with those skills. We want to see, women equipped to flourish where they are and set free to run their race. And so equipping them with business skills, creative classes to just have fun or learn a new skill set in that. And then also personal, like finance, marriage, self-defense class, all the things. So it'll be free to those who can't afford it. And so we're just following one step at a time. But that's really what's led me is, just that one nugget of, I want you to speak to women. And so I'm just like, however that looks is wherever I'll go. So
I love it. I love it. And again, just going back to your obedience, because, to whom much is given, much is required. And I think so many people forget that. It's not, I think people tie it to wealth and just monetary things like, oh, okay, I've been given a lot of money, I need to give it away. This is the wealth of your knowledge, the wealth of your experience, the wealth of your testimony and your story, and how someone somewhere needs to hear it, not from Angela, but from Gabbi. And they'll hear it from Gabbi and it'll change how they view their purpose. They'll lean more into what God has for them, and they can transform what they were doing into that kingdom work and that kingdom driven purpose. And then it sparked the next person. So when I hear Flourish Factory, again, you and these illustrations, I'm just like seeing women come, and it's like a flower growing out of them where they have the seed. You all are just providing the nutrients, those resources, the water, the sunlight through people coming in. And there is something to be said about the church and ministry and leaders in ministry of helping grow the whole person. We can do studies with you, send you to devotionals, walk through studies with you, go through devotionals with you, have prayer with you. But I've always thought that the need of just that practical resource, that practical connection. Okay, so when you talk about studying, sister whomever, we're going to work with these strategies of how to do that. Or, okay, Sister Angela, you want to go do this and pursue a career in this. let's walk you along what that looks like by bringing in someone who does do that and then having them share that experience. I've always thought there's just been this disconnect of outreach to a certain point when realistically people are looking for ways to start a career, figure out their career, put food on their table for their family, and be happy about what they do and doing it well. So I believe that the community of London is going to rally around this. We're going to declare it and go ahead and speak forth that they're going to see the fruit already of what you're going to start next month in the lives of women. I do want to keep going on that tangent, Gabby. This is going to be a beacon of hope in that area. And that has been what I've been called to talk about since October with this whole Hope for the Holidays series, because I hope that whenever people watch it, they take just a glimpse of what you're talking about and it sparks some hope in them, whether that is personally, spiritually, professionally. But let's talk about what has given you hope over the years of your life. What has given you hope?
I know it's the churchy, cheesy answer, but it's always Jesus.
Amen.
He is. We're actually doing a study currently with the Well on joy, and it's just a reminder that joy is not a thing to be obtained; it's a person, and Jesus equals joy. Joy equals Jesus, and so that's why it's a constant thing that we always have and we can always choose, because it's not based on the rise and fall of situations. It's based on a person who is stable and constant. And so that's why joy can still be a constant thing. That's why hope can be a constant thing, is because it's based on him and not other things. And so it really does come down to that for me, is that Jesus has always been that source of hope for me. I've had multiple times in life when I have felt, real depression and loneliness and anger towards God and shut him out and just shut him down. And those were the most hopeless moments of my life. Those were the darkest moments. Those were the loneliest moments, was when I cut myself off from him. And so when I would finally turn back is when hope would come back. And so it is him. It's, hope is Jesus. Jesus is hope. It has a name, and it's not a thing. It's a person. And so that really is my source of, that's where I find my hope. And even in the 2020 pandemic and all the craziness and the ups and downs of everyone's life, I know it's been an insane time. I have actually had, and I know that it's been a real time of loss for many. And I don't want to downplay that, but at the same time, because my hope is in Jesus, I've actually been kind of excited and expectant of, God can take the smallest of bad circumstances and make them good. And so all I can think is, man, I can't wait to see what he does with something this large scale. Because the smallest of things have been so impactful when he turns them to good. I can't imagine what he's going to do and what he's got up his sleeve with something that is the size of what 2020 has been.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
So it would have to be the cheesy, churchy answer, but that is what it is.
It is what it is. It is what it is. He is what he is, and it's truth. It's truth. And the more we can be obedient, I just, that word keeps coming to me during our time together, Gabby. You've been so obedient that your obedience has unlocked the opportunity for others who may never step foot in a church, but they're going to come to the Florist Factory and they are going to be ministered to, even though they might not recognize it, but they're going to be ministered to. And they're going to say, gosh, these ladies have some crazy joy. What in the world is this? Or, wow, they see me. They're valuing me. They're putting their time and their knowledge and resources into me. And little do they know, it is all about the kingdom and unlocking what God has for them. And that joy that is Jesus. And I love that you said it has a name. That is so true. So We are declaring it and decreeing it right now that the Flourish Factory will flourish so many women to go and inspire, spark hope, and just share their testimonies of what you all have equipped them to do.
Thank you.
I love it. I want to hit a couple more things with you, Gabbi. Now, you, again, y'all, she's a wife. Of how many years? I don't think we talked about that in the beginning. How many years?
Yeah. Sometimes I forget about it. No. We've been married since August of 2013. So it's been 7 years.
7 years married, a whole husband, a whole family with the two already cutest little girls, and about to welcome that third one. So she's got all these hats, nonprofit founder or ministry leader, but she also has time to have a fun podcast called Moxie Mamas. And I want to make sure they can find all the places of where to follow you, Gabbi, and just get more information and just more messages from you. So what is Moxie Mamas all about, and how did that come to be?
So that was actually born from my mentor who I found, that mentor I was telling you about when I first got married. I was looking for one and I wasn't sure where to find one. I did find one. It was my wedding photographer. She does not attend my church, but I clung to her. She is joy personified. And so I clung to her, and we became good friends through that mentoring process. And it wasn't a formal mentorship. I asked her to be my mentor, but we just kind of checked in with each other every so often. And if I needed something, I knew who I could call. And so nothing formal, but through the years of 7 years of being friends and mentoring, it was her and her husband. She had wanted to start something, and it was 2 years ago. I was just getting into actually speaking, because I thought I was going to speak to women through other people and what I did with the well, as far as, because I don't always speak at the well. It's not the Gabbi show. It's the platform for others to use. Right. And so I thought, well, maybe I'm speaking to them through these other people and the topics that I choose and all of that. And so 2 years ago, I actually started speaking more out of my own mouth. And that's right. And she wanted to start a podcast. Her husband was like, why don't you and Gabbi do that? Because we're weirdos together. And we have a great back and forth. Yeah. So anyway, so we just thought, let's try this. And so we just jumped right into the podcasting world a couple of years ago. We launched it last year in 2019. And so Moxie Mamas is really just about getting down to grit and Moxie. We just love the word Moxie, especially her. She is in love with the word Moxie. But we just wanted to encourage and inspire women to just, go after it, and to highlight those who are, and to highlight, those women that we know from the Bible, from history, from our communities, who have that grit and determination. It's something, it's an admirable thing. And so our podcast is interesting. It's funny. We have a good time together, and it's unedited. So most of the time it's unedited.
That's what it's about. People want to hear people having a good time, having a good conversation, but also know that they're connected to them. It could be a mom. Yeah. It could be a new wife. It could be a wife of 7 years, but it could be someone saying, I know I want to do something, but I'm not sure what. Let me listen to them talk about it. But that word Moxie, you don't forget it. So don't forget, Moxie Mamas is their podcast. And we've talked about a lot, but if there was one thing, Gabbi, that you could share, and you've really hit on a lot of themes, we could honestly do a series off of just your interview today. We talked about the power of mentorship, the fruit of being obedient. You've talked about the fact that souls are at stake if you're not obedient. And this is not the Gabbi show. It's not the Angel show. It's none of our show. It's all about Jesus. He is the joy. He is the hope. He is the peace. All of this should be for him. If there is someone listening, either in the holiday season still, could be a year or two from now, what is something that you would want to say to them in reference to holding on to hope. I've heard that a couple times this year. People, I'm clinging to hope, or I'm protecting the hope that I have, or you know what? On hopeless days, all I can do is just sit and call on the name of Jesus or call on God. What is the one thing that you would say to help spark just some type of hope to someone that is probably flatlining on it right now?
Mm-hmm. Gosh, that's a good question. And there's a couple of things that I would want to say. One in particular is that leaning into Jesus. It's John 15 is, we're the branches, he's the vine. Yes. And it's when we connect with him consistently with quality time, we don't come. I mean, I know there's always going to be a time we come out of obligation, and always going to be a time that we come out of desperation. But when we just come consistently, it doesn't have to be for an hour, it can be 5 minutes. But of just every day meeting with him just to get to know him, that's where the key is. It's just to get to know him. And because that's all he wants. He just wants us to know him. And the more that we know him, the more that we love him, the more that we love him, the more time we want to spend with him. And it just keeps cycling and growing. And so, if we can just consistently connect with him as just to get to know him, the fruits of the Spirit will grow within us. And in those fruits is joy and hope's not listed, but I feel like hope is basically encompassing of all of those things. I mean, we all need a little more love, joy, peace, patience, and kindness, and all those things. And self-control, especially. I need self-control more and more. And he constantly reminds me that I have it if I would just, practice it, but I don't. But really just leaning into him, just even 5 minutes, but just making it a consistent time to get to know him, and he will grow those things. And it's not the fruit of Gabby, it's the fruit of the Spirit. And so that's something I have to remember, is that when I'm trying to spin my wheels and I'm feeling like I'm hopeless, or I'm running on, fumes, I'm like, oh, I've not actually spent consistent quality time with him. And when you do that, he'll replenish you. It's that simple. It's so, so simple. We make it so complicated. So that's definitely the number one thing I would say. But the second thing too, just for hope, and, because of what I've loved to do and speak on is purpose and leadership and all those things, I just for people to know and to have hope that you don't have to have the whole skill set to do it. I don't have all the skills to teach all the classes at the Flourish Factory. I actually told my husband, and I was like, I wish I had some skills to pass on so that I could fill my calendar if the teacher backs out. But I don't have all the skills. I'm just willing to say yes. That's right. And so I know I'm not the best leader. I'm not the best speaker. I'm not the best writer. I'm not the best teacher when it comes to skills or mentor. But so few people are willing to say yes. And so that's it. All you have to do is say yes and walk through the door, and he'll give you what you need. So it's not about, what you need to do this. It's about, are you willing to give what you have? And then he'll provide the rest. So I would probably say those two things.
No, that's so good, Gabby. Getting to know Jesus, taking that time, but also the power of saying yes. Love that. And it has been an absolute joy for me to conduct this conversation so you all can get to know Gabby. I'm so glad you said yes to this. And I am going to make sure that everyone knows how to get in touch with you. I know Instagram is a jam of yours. Instagram is the jam. So we're going to put your Instagram handle in the show notes as well as the description. It's going to link to everything you heard, everyone. So the well, you'll get to follow her link to go to the well to see their resources, everything they've done. You'll get to also see what she just launched with the Flourish Factory, and start seeing her build that Instagram and that movement that I'm so excited about. But also you'll get to see us more through God Girl Nation, which is our connection. And we're excited about what God can do in 2021 through our connection and collaboration with the ladies of God Girl Nation. Gabby, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your heart, your moxie, and your wisdom.
Thank you for asking me and giving me the opportunity. I've enjoyed it.
It is my pleasure. I cannot wait for everyone to hear from you because y'all are going to want to know more. She is a dynamic speaker. She's all things awesome mom, awesome wife. And you can hear from today her heart for God. And that is not, I love to hear people say it's not about me. It's about Jesus, and they mean it, and their fruits show it. She's the real deal, y'all. So thanks again, Gabbi. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bless everything you're doing. And thanks everyone for watching this conversation of hope for the holidays. We'll see you all next time. Take care and God bless.